Welcome to this webinar. My name is Friedrich von Jagwitz. I'm a sales engineer in the DACH region, so Germany, Swiss, Austria, plus Benelux. And what we are going to do today is I will give you a brief overview on what LogPoint does and what the differentiators of LogPoint are compared to other products on the security market. And then we will step over and I will give you a short demonstration of the key functionalities of this product. Once you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. So we have some functionality in this Zoom webinar that you can raise your hand, that you can ask questions. And I will be happy to get some from you because it's always easier to understand what you're really interested in when you give me some feedback. So don't hesitate to do it. So let's go over the threat landscape, what's happening in the free wildlife of IT. And we see a lot of breaches. And behind the breaches, there is a certain percentage of organized criminal groups. So if we are talking about ransomware, for example, you will see that we are talking about a business. So there is a lot of money that is being earned by ransomware, and there are people making a lot of money doing it. Then you have internal threats, so disgruntled people that are working in your company and who are accessing data they should not, or they are selling information. And you have a certain percentage of state-affiliated actors. So I don't want to get too much into detail, but I think every one of you heard about that there are actors who have a lot of money, a lot of motivation, and who even collected system flaws to be able to perform a breach whenever needed. And if we're looking into the statistics, we will see that if someone is really motivated, then the time to compromise is something we're talking about in minutes. So if someone wants to go into an IT infrastructure, he can do it. He is able to do it on very short terms. On the other hand, if I'm talking with organization, then we see that most organizations have difficulty to detect those breaches. And I've seen a lot of statistics about that. I think most of you will have heard about the famous statistic from an FBI director who said 85% of organizations know that they have been breached and the others don't know it. But in the end, everyone is breached. And you will see in the average, it takes 9 months to discover a breach. So there are some organizations who are very good organized. They will understand it quicker, also maybe within minutes. But most of them, it will cost them months to understand that they see a breach. If we are talking about SIEM, SIEM is, let's say, SIEM is a tool for IT security to understand what's happening. And if I'm talking about SIEM, it is the tool that my SOC or my security analysts need to work. So simple it is. And you can compare it to that the finance department needs their ERP, the sales department needs their CRM, and the security department needs their SIEM. But the SIEM is able to do a lot more than only cybersecurity. We also can help you to be compliant. So if you have some key risk indicators or key performance indicators you want to monitor, you can do it. So if you have some compliance regulations that obligate you to report certain numbers, you will be able to. But even more, if you're looking on IT operations, we are talking about availability of systems, then you will be able to understand with a monitoring system whether or not all systems are reliable or if something is going to break away in the next time. Most systems, once they break down and are not available anymore, usually they show already signs of or flaws before, so you could see some indicators that these systems won't run anymore. And of course, you can, as a SIEM is a system that can be used for big data analytics, you also can ingest your business data and do some business analytics on it. So briefly, a LogPoint SIEM is really a big data system that will help you on cybersecurity, compliance, IT operations, and if you like it, on business analytics. If we're looking into your security posture, what can you do with a SIEM? You can do centralized analysis. So you will have, or most organizations usually have, lots of security systems, not only one. So you have your firewalls, you have your vulnerability scanners, you have perhaps some providers for threat intelligence. You have your own knowledge like asset databases. You might have one or multiple directory services and all that stuff. And you need to centralize the analysis. You need one single pane of glass you're looking through, and then you see what's happening. And when we're talking about SIEM, we are talking about context. So we want to understand what is not happening only in one point, but what is happening around that point. So you do not want to focus only on one system, but you want to understand what's happening overall. And this is what SIEM enables you to do it. So you are really breaking through those data silos of single systems, and you are becoming really able to understand what's happening in the overall view. Once you can do that, once you are enabled to do a centralized analysis, you will see that your detection capabilities improve heavily. And detection is very important. So if we are looking into the cybersecurity cycle, you will see the 3 steps: prevention, detection, and reaction. And in the detection cycle, you try to understand if your prevention measures are really effective. And the detection capabilities are not that easy to gain. And so once you have a centralized analysis, you will be strong in detection, you will be quick in detection, so your breaches will quickly be discovered, and you will be able to do seamless forensics because you will not be forced to look into the logs of each and every system, but you can look into your SIEM, and you will be able to compare the logs from the different systems. Once you have improved in detection, of course, you will be able to respond to what you found before. And the response is the most important point, because the response is the effective measure, or let's say the effective countermeasure. So what you need is, once someone is breaching your infrastructure, you want to stop him. And so the detection is a prerequisite for a good response. And so you will be able to respond quickly. And let's say one of the points I like very much in modern SIEM systems is that you make use of machine learning. So you do not, as an analyst, you do not write hundreds of queries per day, but you can use machine learning. You have a couple of use cases that will enable you to find out when some strange things happen. You will be able to identify suspicious activity, and this will help you to do your job very well. I said that with a SIEM, you have a single pane of glass. Other people say it's a single source of truth. What matters here is you are able to look into one system, and there you have every knowledge from the other systems collected in that one system. And I think that's very important, because of course, we need different security systems to do different jobs in the infrastructure, but we need one system to take all that information on one point to get context to single incidents and to make this information actionable. Because the main question, as I mentioned already, the main question is, what shall I do now? Let's have a look into how LogPoint is doing it. So on the left side, you see a lot of sources, maybe databases, applications, Internet of Things. We see a lot of interest of organizations with Internet of Things. to have some detection capabilities. We have the endpoints, maybe mobile phones, personal computers, everything you can imagine, printers, firewalls. Especially in printers, we see that many security breaches, or let's say attack vectors, are maybe connected to printers. So all those sources are of interest, and we need to ingest them into the core SIEM. And what we are doing there is we are collecting those logs, we are classifying the logs, so we are really trying to understand what does this log contain. And LogPoint does something very beautiful. So we are, let's say, we are changing those logs so they have one single format, and this makes them comparable between different systems. Then we try to put labels on them to characterize what this log is about. So to quickly understand what does this log talk about, what does this log talk to you. And then we do enrich those logs with additional content. And this might be third-party content from threat intelligence sources, but this might also be some content from your infrastructure. Let's say some information that you have about your infrastructure and that you want to use to understand what those logs tell you. And then we are routing those logs in different repositories so we can decide who has access to that information and how it can be used. Once we did that, we are storing it. So we, depending on the retention time of your logs, we are saving them on smaller or larger repositories. And at the same time, we are doing analytics. So imagine we are writing those logs once we receive them from the log sources. And at the same time, we are starting to do analytics on them. So we are searching for specific incidents. We are correlating logs from VPN, web proxy, Active Directory, endpoints, whatever you imagine. We are correlating them right now. We are putting machine learning on it, and then we are trying to identify how can we respond on what we see in the infrastructure. For our managed security service providers, or let's say larger customers, we have a tool that is called Director that helps me to manage hundreds and thousands of log points to make sure that I stay on top of things and that I can really stay in control. For those customers and organizations that need some machine learning and who are not willing or able to do analytics themselves, they can use the user and entity behavior analytics that we provide from a private cloud service. And for those who really are able to define an automated response, we have a connection to automated response tool. So you can really build your cybersecurity cycle from prevention over detection to the reaction, more or less fully automated. If we're looking in what LogPoint delivers to you, you will see we are talking about the best-in-class system here. And we have one single taxonomy. So we have one language that helps us to talk about the logs from the most different systems. We can easily correlate data from all applications in the infrastructure. So I'm not doing some reports over one system, but I'm really crossing through my whole infrastructure. We have very, very nice and meaningful visualizations. And visualizations are very important when it comes to communications. And I think all of you know it. There is one point to talk about security breaches with IT people, because IT people will understand what you're talking about. But once you have to talk about that with management to make them understand that they need to invest some money in security measures, it becomes more difficult because they are not used to go that deep into technical points. And having a good visualization is very helpful in these discussions. And you will see with LogPoint, you will have a reduced time to action in responding to security threats. Besides, LogPoint has very strong user and entity behavior analytics. I will go into that in the demo, and so I will not go too deep into that right now. LogPoint Director architecture means we have that tool that enables you to manage lots of LogPoint installations. And so this is, you see, we have a console, you have a search master who enables you to search about many LogPoints. You have the management fabric that is doing all the management of the systems below. I will not do any demonstration on that today, but I want to highlight that because maybe some of you will be interested in it, and then I will be happy to give you more information. LogPoint provides you with a very fast time to value. So once you want to install LogPoint, it will take you very few time until you will see the first results. And I think this is something that might be a powerful differentiator to other systems on the market, that with LogPoint, from the moment you start the installation until you will have your first valuable insights, there is very few time. Do you have questions so far? Then please use the Q&A section or raise your hands. And if you have no questions, then let me just change to our demo system. So I hope everyone can see now. And yeah, there is positive feedback. That's very good. So let's start with the most easy way. So what I see sometimes is that security officers are asking themselves, what's happening in my infrastructure? And I think many of you already heard about something that is called shadow IT. Oh, there is something on the Q&A section. Yeah, so Tim, I will answer this question at the end of the call because I think that you will get some relevant information during the demo, but I will answer that question later. So, so you are asking yourself if you have some shadow IT activities, and shadow IT might be some Synology under a desk, or shadow IT might be some cloud services that are not allowed by your IT security officer, but people use them. And imagine that you have a policy that all the users only can save enterprise data on Office 365. And once you hear that some people have been heard of using Dropbox, and you want to quickly understand, do we have any suspicious activity with regards to Dropbox? And there you can use a LogPoint like Google. So you just ask for, do we see any events that contain the name Dropbox? And here you will find this is a typical event. So this is a typical log that you get from, I don't know what source it is. And here below, you see the original event. And as you can see, this is not really human readable. So it contains a lot of valuable information, but you don't really know what it means. So the question would be, what is this log about? And how can I work with the information it contains? So above this original log here, you will see this is the LogPoint normalized log. And we are working with keys and values. One key might be user and the value is Blanca. The key comes from a LogPoint dictionary. We call that taxonomy. And the value comes from the log itself. So if you're looking into the original log, you will see there is Blanca. And only with the information about what the log is intended to say, you can know that this is the username. And this is the value LogPoint is providing here. So we are working with those key value pairs, and these will help you to do, let's say, to correlate these logs with each other. And the interesting point is we don't care where this log is coming from. So you will find a user key in logs from Windows systems, from firewall systems, from web proxies, whatever it is, and you will be able to understand on which systems Blanca is working. And of course, you see here, somehow it is related to Dropbox. So I explained that with the normalization, we are creating those key value pairs to be able to work with these logs. And then we are doing something in addition. We are putting labels on that log. And those labels are characterizing what this log is about. So even if you have no idea, even after reading all those key value pairs, you have no idea what it is really about. you will be able to understand it with those labels. So if I should tell you what it means, it says that there is traffic that allowed the use of cloud storage. And so what I would like to know right now is, I understand that there is some traffic into cloud storage. It is somehow related to Dropbox, and I want to see all logs that contain a user. And what I'm doing now is I'm saying user, and I'm giving a wildcard. And now it is filtering the logs again. And what you see is I'm working with the raw logs, which are fully indexed, and so I can work with them. And I'm working with a normalized log, which is indexed as well. And I'm getting some content back. And I think that's a very strong functionality, that I'm able to mix that. And with very few knowledge, I already can get valuable information. And the next step I would like to know is how much data is transferred to this Dropbox. And I start to calculate, and I can calculate in my search, and I'm getting a value back. And as you see, this value is giving you the data size that has been transferred in bytes, which does not help you too much because no one of us is talking in bytes. So I extend my calculation and I try to make this more readable. And so this is what I'm getting back now. And I think that's strong. What I'm showing you here is really very few works that I'm investing, but nevertheless, I start to understand what's happening. And from now, I understand there is about 1 megabyte that has been transferred or exchanged with the cloud. And I'm talking about the last 10 minutes. So probably over the day, it is more. And now I would like to know who are the users and who are the machines that are involved in those activities. And it's really easy to understand that. So I say user, and I say I would like to see the source address of the machines. So what I'm seeing now is really I'm getting a table with the users and the source addresses. And the fact that I'm looking for users and source address, this is something I know from the LogPoint dictionary. So this is something you will easily learn, that it is not IP address, but it is source address. And then you see what's happening. And we see that there are lots of users involved. So I want to see the users who have the most traffic with the cloud. And so I will order it by data size, and we called it MB. And I want to see the 5 users with most of the traffic. And this is what we find here. So we said, so we got really valuable insights here. And I think this did not cost us too much time so far. So this is strong. And I think this is one of the strongest points of LogPoint. So once you start working with it, you will not invest too much time to learn how it works. So this one was an easy one. So you just found out who are the users and who are the machines who are working most with the Dropbox and how much data do they transfer. Let's step to another use case that could be, we want to understand failed logins followed by a successful login. So let's say this is a pattern of the successful brute force. You have a couple of failed logins followed by a successful login. And the question is, how can I do it? So it is usually, I would say, this is really hard to detect because you have to count really so many logs to see that. And you have not only to count them, first of all, you have to look into them. And this is the moment where I would say you can see that the time to detection is getting faster. So you're getting much more insight. And so let me show you what powerful it is to work with labels. So I want to see all logs that are somehow login logs. And now I see an enormous number of logs, so 578 logs that are login logs. And now I want only to see the failed login logs. So I will easily add a fail. And until now, I'm only working with labels. And now you see, so I have still more than 300 logs left. And what I want to do now is I want to see a number of failed logins having the same user. And as you can see, we have some kind of auto-completion. So this is very helpful. And now I will define how many failed logins do I want to see. So I would like to see 5 failed logins having same user. And now I'm getting back some feedback. And you will see this will take a short time because this is a heavy calculation. So now we have 5 failed logins. So these are the logs that document those 5 logins. And I'm going to characterize them as, let's say, I will call them as failed login. And now what I wanted to do now is I want to add a successful login. And it works exactly the same way. So I will say those 5 failed logins are followed by, and now I will describe a successful login. And it is the same easy way. So I will write label must be login and label must be successful. And I will give this one successful login. And now I need to make sure that has the same user from those 5 is the same user from the successful login. So I will say as failed login user on failed login user is successful login user. And let's see if we find some. We should successful. There is an S missing. Sorry for that. And now he's calculating. So he's going through thousands of logs to help us understand. And now we find here the full documentation of the story of what's happening in your infrastructure. So that's interesting. I think this is something like, this is like a movie. So you have 5 logs that say login fail, login fail, login fail. And we have 3 more. Login fail, login fail. And here we see login successful. And this is really, really interesting. And this is something on the long terms we would try to understand what does this tell me? And so far, it is difficult to communicate. So let's try to make this more understandable. So we will say count those events. Let's say number of logins by successful login host. So I want to see the host names ordered by number of logins descending. So I see those who are mostly used. And what I'm getting back now is a number of hosts where this happened. And that's interesting because as a security analyst, I will quickly understand that I need to have a look into those systems if they are compromised. And if we would see something like that in your infrastructure, I would say it is probably compromised. So far to what we are doing with the search, and I think that was technically already or we had a certain depth, but I wanted to show you this really into detail because I think everything LogPoint is based on searches. And so I wanted to show you how powerful the searches are and how easy they are to learn. So once we search, we want to get more content into those searches. And we have some functionality that we call enrichment. And enrichment helps to give more context on the logs that you have. And we have something that we call enrichment sources. And I will show you how we add enrichment sources and what kind of enrichment source we can use. So in LogPoint, you can, of course, use CSV files. And CSV files are very powerful because you can put whatever you want, you can put into these CSV files. So I've seen customers putting their most sensitive user accounts in a CSV file to make sure once they have some suspicious behavior on one of these user accounts, they can prioritize accordingly. I've also seen customers putting their Active Directory service accounts into a list, only to be sure if they find some behavior that usually does not happen with a service account. For example, one service account who is logging using RDP. But you are also able to use some connection to databases. So you can use ODBC to go into the databases. Some customers are using their SFTP to enrich their logs. We see many customers using LDAP enrichment, so they get some Active Directory additional information that might be service principal names, that might be object SIDs, that might be SID history, and so on. And of course, if you have logs with no host name, you can work with IP to host. So it is doing some reverse DNS and enriching your logs that once you are doing the forensics, you have the not only the IP, but also the host name. And for your external firewalls, you can do the same thing. So you are working with geo-IP enrichment, and then you will not only see who did the port scan on your firewall, but you will also see from which country it comes. And I will show you later that you will be able to visualize that in a dashboard. So this is one way to enrich within LogPoint. But we have something else. And some point that I like most in LogPoint is that there is no complexity where you don't need complexity. So we have some lists and tables, and these lists and tables help you to give valuable information in the most easy way into the LogPoint. So we have prepared about more of 100 lists and tables that already contain some content. And then let me focus on a very short list of them. So in the HomeNet section, you can notice your own internal networks. And if you see internal network traffic that is not inside the networks you notice, then you can be sure that you have some shadow IT, some stuff that is not documented, for sure things that you do not want. And then you can easily react, and this is not too much work. Of course, you can make lists of your critical systems, critical files, so you can enrich your alerts about what is really critical and what is only suspicious. So I think it's an easy one, but it is a very powerful tool to give you more insight and more understanding of what's actually happening. Because, having such a system is one point, but really to understand what's going on, this is the one thing that you really want, and you need to have some help on that. And this is what LogPoint provides here. And of course, you can use also some third-party evidence to understand once you have, let's say, traffic with suspicious partners. So LogPoint is a really open system, so we are able to integrate with a lot of other systems. And so what you will see here is we are able to enrich with emerging threats, critical stack, CSIS, MISP, Bluelift, Recorded Future, and all those vendors who are able to work with the STIX taxi standard. So like anomaly, and there are lots of. So what I wanted to tell you here is that with that system, you can easily integrate third-party evidence to understand what's going on in your network. Well, I think that's enough for enrichment. So let's have a look into the dashboard. So the dashboards are, we could say, the dashboards are searches, but these searches are somehow visualized. So if we're looking, for example, into this dashboard, which is enriched with Darktrace information. So Darktrace is a session recording tool. And it gives really valuable information. And here you can see a lot of attack vectors, what's happening, SSL beaconing to rare destinations, and so on. And you get it. Behind that visualization, you will find a search that is the same easy nature as we have been working before. So what this dashboard is showing me is a visualization of a search that is behind that. And we have a lot of visualizations. So you see we have a donut bar here, we have some flows, we have this gorge. So whatever your need is, you probably will find something that will fit for you in LogPoint. And it is not that complicated to switch between different visualizations. So let me show you how easy it is. And I think that's very important because as an analyst, you are mostly interested in focusing on what's really going on in my infrastructure and not so much how can I make it nice. This is a system is doing it for you. So let's have a look into another dashboard. So here we see a SOC dashboard, typical SOC dashboard. And in this one, I want to focus on the world map here. And I think that's very interesting because I've seen that in a couple of organizations, especially in one we had seen that they had Office 365 login activity from countries they had certainly no people in. And what we did then is we digged into it, and we understood that one user account was breached, and someone logged into his email account once in the night. And so, having detected it, the user reset his password, and we were done. But this is interesting. So this is exactly the kind of things you want to do, and that will give you, it's like low-hanging fruits. You will not spend, you will not put too much effort in it, but you will having a lot of revenue because you will really change the security posture of your organization. So this is dashboards, and dashboards are easily to create. So I think we started with an easy search that could be expressed within a dashboard. So I will show you how to create a dashboard. You start with a search. You put your query in it, and then you say, add this search to a dashboard. And this is really easy. I say, this is my widget. I put it on my dashboard, and I can have a look into that dashboard. And it's this is really quickly done. And as you can see, I did that once already today. So this is really easy to do. And I think this is a one point that differentiates LogPoint from others, that it is so easy to use. Besides, I know that most of you, once introducing such a tool, you want to have something that is already prepared, and LogPoint will not leave you alone there. So we deliver a lot of dashboards, let's say dashboard templates with that system. So once you install it, you will see that we have a lot of so-called vendor dashboards, and it's more than 290 dashboards that are shipped with the system. And one dashboard contains always lots of widgets. So you have hundreds and hundreds of searches that are already shipped with the system. Please be aware that these widgets and dashboards are templates. So you need to, of course, to clone them and to adapt them to your needs. But of course, you will already have something. So dashboards are a very good thing because they enable you to visualize what you found and what you want to see. Let's get to something, I would call it interactive dashboards. LogPoint calls it search templates. It's more or less the same thing. So for example, if you have the head of finance who wants to track who is member of the finance group, you can provide him with a search template, and there he is getting this one. So you give him such a search template, and he can look who is member of the finance group. And this is cool because there you will involve business in security. And I know that many companies are currently spending lots of money in awareness trainings to help the people to understand that security is nothing that will be done only by IT, but everyone needs to be involved. And this kind of search template is really helpful to involve business into security. And I find that my customers are really happy and appreciating that they get some insights themselves without raising a ticket or calling someone from the IT. So that's a strong feature. Well, when we started, I created a search that was, characterizing a brute force attack. So 5 logins followed by 1 successful login. And if I see something like that, I do not want to have a dashboard. I want to be alerted. And also this one is easy. So I can create an alert rule. I say, this is my alert rule. And once again, I can work with risk. So I can say this alert is very risky. I can give the risk calculation function, and then I can assign ownership of that alert. I can apply a Jinja template. Jinja is not a LogPoint technology, but very powerful to present something. So you can change the look and feel of your alert. You can work with loops, and so this will be very powerful for you if you want it. And then once you have created your alert, you can configure the alert channels. So we can alert via email, which is, I think, clearly common. We can alert via syslog, SNMP. With SNMP, you can also start with a rudimentary reaction scheme. We can alert via Inkman, which helps you to inform your source system if you have one. We can alert via HTTP, and in HTTP you will see there is a lot of methods from HTTP you will be able to use. And of course, I can alert via SSH. I can even execute SSH scripts, which will enable me to do some basic reaction. So far on alerting, and now let's get to the last step of what you can do with a LogPoint. So the more one of the very common features, especially when it comes to compliance, is that you have to report some key risk indicators or some key performance indicators. And what is important is it have to look nice, because if not, no one from the business will understand that what you tell them is relevant. So you can give, here you can work with everything from marketing. You can put in your company look and feel. You can work with all that HTML stuff that you're used to do. And then once you created your layout template, you're creating your report templates. And I will show you how very good it is, as how you can work with LogPoint report templates. So what you see here is the searches that you can put into one report. And the searches are the part that is most meaningful. So the searches contain the evidence you collected. But this is not all that you want to do. You also want to distribute the reports. So you will see here is an export format that you can choose. So PDF, HTML, XLS, so Word or CSV. And you can choose a layout. And as you can define your own layout templates, you can choose your own one. And then you can go even further and personalize the report. And this is something I would want to have if I buy a SIEM product. I would want to have the ability to do any change I want into that report. So you can have some explanatory text, which is very important from my point of view, because if once you give the report to someone who is not from IT, they need some explanation. What does those numbers mean? And you can go very far, so you can define panels, headers, page breaks, whatever you need. And in the end, the report will exactly look like what you want to have. And I will show you one example for a report. So let's see here into this. Sorry, wrong button. Let me try again. So I'm not sure. Yes, you can see that's good. So this is one report with a little bit strange look and feel, but it could be yours. So imagine this would be the logo of your company and everything. You see a table of contents. You see a lot of analytics. You will see what the one or another explanatory text. So you're really able to do what you want into this report. And let me have a look into another one, because I think this is even better, because here you have more text that explains what the analytics mean. And so what I showed you today is how you can work with LogPoint, how you can search within hundreds and thousands of logs, how you can visualize them using dashboards, how you can involve business with search templates, how you can understand once you see some suspicious behavior using alerts, and how you can answer compliance requirements using reports. And now I will get into your questions. And I think there are some questions. So the first question was from Tim. Are LogPoint using agent-based or agentless for Windows servers and clients? So if we are working with Windows, we are always working with agents. LogPoint has an own agent that can be managed from the SIEM itself. For smaller companies or for smaller organizations, that is absolutely appropriate and it works. Once it comes to larger numbers of Windows systems, I would rather recommend to work with NXLog Enterprise Agent, which is licensed with LogPoint as well. And then you can distribute those agents and manage those agents with your software distribution tool, whatever it is. Yes. So the question is that fine for you, Tim, or did that not answer your question? So please put it into this Q&A. It's fine. Okay, I see. Thanks. Next one is from Murray. Can you integrate third-party VA tools such as Nessus or Qualys for enrichment? So I'm really, really sorry not to have shown it, because this is usually part of my standards, because I love it too much. So I will show you. I have we have some we have even an own vulnerability management here in the LogPoint. And so once I configure it, you will see we support Tenable, Nessus, and Qualys. So if I want, what was your question? I think you were asking for Qualys. So I can add a Qualys fetcher here, and you will see we can change the vulnerability management, the web application scan, or both, and then I can perform the configurations. Well, this was Murray. Then the next question was still from Murray. Can you create alert aggregation thresholds so that you only get notified once every hour, for example? So if you have, for example, a brute force attack and you have set the system to create alerts, it is possible you will be flooded by alerts. Yeah, I understand that point. Yes, we can. So let me show you. I have my alert. And here I can say, for example, I can do alert throttling, and I can say if I have that one, I do not want to be alerted within the next 30, 60 minutes. The next question is from Tim. Are the reports still limited to 999 rows per query? That question is too hard for me. I don't know it, Tim. Sorry for it. So if you send me that per email, I will be happy to answer. So just for your information, please send me an email at fvj@logpoint.com with your email address. Then I will get it for you and send you an answer. Is that fine for you? Well, so I would ask everyone who had whose questions were answered, please mark them as answered, because there are so many. Then I can see if there's something I should still answer. Well, looks like it that we are done. So if there is no one having questions anymore, then I say thank you. That was very nice. How about the Azure integration? So there is something I will show you on top. So LogPoint, of course, is there is one question. We use Azure with an E5 license. What are the integration options here, also including Sentinel integration to LogPoint? So with regards to Sentinel, I would say Sentinel is trying to be, let's say, a competitive product to LogPoint. So, and I understand, let's say, the benefits as well as the limits of Sentinel. So once it comes to an integration of Sentinel and LogPoint, I don't really see that it makes sense, to be honest. But of course, I want to integrate all my Azure logs into the understanding of what's happening in my infrastructure. And how can I do it? And I will show you quickly that LogPoint, of course, is able to do that. So if you are looking in the applications section in the service desk, and I think most of you will be able to access that, you will you will see that we have an application that is called Event Hub. And Event Hub is nothing else than, let's say, the log source of Azure. And once you implement Event Hub, you will be able to work with it, and you will get those Azure logs. If you are working with Sentinel, Sentinel is working with the exactly same logs, but Sentinel has no information of your on-prem infrastructure. So if you have an Azure-only infrastructure, it might be enough to work with Sentinel. But once you have a hybrid infrastructure, I would strongly recommend to work with LogPoint. Is that fine for you, Tim? Well, are there additional questions? Well, then thanks a lot, everyone. Once again, Tim, I'm awaiting your email. So this is my email address. And what does that mean? Can you show the SOAR part? Can you explain that? Yeah, but what does that mean? Is there any option? Okay, so with LogPoint, you have no options to create automated response. LogPoint itself cannot do it, and this is due to the fact that LogPoint is strong in detection, but LogPoint has very low reactive capabilities. And that is okay that way, because we do not want to be strong that way. So what we want is we want to be strong in detection. But of course, we have a way to integrate with those systems. And we are doing it with working with alert rules. So once I have an alert, so I have some detection capabilities, then I want to integrate it with a SOAR system. And it's easy. You see my alert, I'm going on setup notification, and I'm going on Inkman. And this Inkman is characterizing what is this alert about. Let's say it's that one. I'm giving a severity facility, and then I'm going to send it into a SOAR system. But this, so let's keep it on a high level. But on a high level, this is the way how we can provide insights from the LogPoint detection to a SOAR system. So unfortunately, I cannot show you the integration itself because I don't have a SOAR system at hand. But if you're interested, then please send us an email and let us know that you would love to see some integration. Maybe we will discuss it internally. We can make a webinar with an integration. I don't know. This would have to be discussed. But for now, is your question answered? Are you happy about it? Okay, perfect. Are there still additional questions left? Someone who wants to ask something? Well, then thanks a lot. This was a very nice session. I liked it, and I hope you will be with us the next time when we offer a webinar. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.